after that, I decided, I wanted to play with my friends. I wanted to make a team of just my friends and do that. I just travel around the country with my friends and play paintball, and that was what we did.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Down Under Paintball. This is episode 18, and this week we're sitting down with Josh Bailey. Josh is a paintballer from New Zealand, having helped out Explicit for many years, coming over and representing New Zealand with the Clown Monkeys as well. As we find out in this interview, Josh, being a Kiwi, was able to start playing very young. Josh found himself in a bit of a paintball mecca, had some good pedigree of paintballers in New Zealand to train with and against. Josh was someone that I enjoyed playing against for several years, always had some tough battles with him, so I was happy to have this chance to sit down and catch up with him and find a bit more about his history. So with that, we'll just jump straight into this episode of Down Under Paintball.
Okay, I need to find paintball again.
If that's the kind of commitment you're going to give, then that's the kind of commitment I want. So I'm sticking.
You're listening to Down Under Paintball.
I mean, everybody on that team was a veteran. Everybody.
This is Will McDonald, and you're listening to Down Under Paintball.
It does make it a more interesting sport for the masses.
They are doing it better than anyone else, to be honest.
Yeah, show other women that might be interested in playing that, hey, you can go out there and you can be successful in this sport.
I've got the best seat in the house with some of the best paintball in Australia.
And you're listening to Down Under Paintball.
I don't enter into the politics. I'm not interested. I'm just trying to, grow the sport, get more people playing paintball.
On this week's show, we're sitting down with Josh Bailey. Welcome to the show.
Hey man, how's it going?
Yeah, good. It's nice. Every time I call the kiwis, where I do early morning episodes, so they work well for me. It's a nice rainy old morning over here.
Yeah, well, when you said 8 a.m, I thought, man, that must be early over there, eh? You're getting up at 5 a.m. But she's clear sky over here, -4.5 degrees or something, nice and chilly.
Yeah, nice. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say I'm just sitting in the dark here, trying not to wake up the rest of the family,
Yeah, that's I'm doing the exact same thing. Secret missions.
Yeah.
So, do you guys whereabouts in NZ are you calling from?
Calling from Christchurch in the South Island.
Nice. Do you get snow down there often?
No, actually, well, I'm not from here originally. I'm from Wellington, but when I moved down here, I thought the same thing. I thought, I might get a few winters with some snow and that, but because it's at sea level, it doesn't really snow too much.
Yeah, that's that sea level. Yeah, it's always just sort of stays around the same. Like you get that.
Yeah, it's always 300 meters above sea level it starts snowing. But
right.
On the hills, you can see you get a bit of snow, but. Never really down on the flats, yeah.
Yeah, we've got to drive like 6 hours to get to snow here.
Fair enough.
No, so well, thanks for coming on, and let's get into it. Well, why don't you just let everyone know, a little bit about yourself and how you got into the sport of paintball.
Yeah, well, probably a bit old now, I guess. My first paintballs game was about 20 odd years ago, back before the new millennium, before the global war on terror and all that jazz, 1999, I think was my first game. I was the crisp age of 12, 13 years old.
Nice. So good.
Yeah, I know, right? I heard some of your early episodes. You're always going on about, man, I wish I could have got into it earlier. And I guess it's lucky over here that, we didn't have any of those restrictions. Because, I was at school, I was at college, and my good mate Trevor Bradley, I remember him coming up to me and saying something about his older brother who was at school with us at the time, a couple of years older. He said, my brother and some of his mates are organising a game of paintball against some of the teachers, some of the male teachers at school.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh yeah. He's like, yeah, we should tag along on that. And I was like, yeah, that could be cool as eh? Dead keen. And so yeah, we went along to that, and I just remember it being like so me, shooting things, and especially like the older teachers, like the PE teacher and that, just like getting some back on those guys. But getting into the bush and just shooting guns was right up my alley.
Yeah, nice. Do you remember what guns they were back then?
Yeah, they were we're back when before Evil and that, they were like PMI. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, PMI Piranhas.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they're all mechanical semi-auto things with the angled feed neck but I remember first game was like an attack and defend sort of thing, and seen one of this dude hiding behind this wooden pallet. I could just see the top of his head. He was like 30 or 40 meters away. And that was me, just chunk, just trying to hit this dude in the head, eh? And that was it. That was my 100 paintballs or whatever I had gone in the first 5 minutes. That was pretty much the start of my paintball career. Just
nice.
Out of the game in the first 5 minutes. No paint.
So I guess you're lucky it was mechanical back then and not an electronic gun.
Yeah, I guess I was well prepared for being introduced to the speedball game, you could say.
Yeah. So how long was that from when you were out in the woods until you first saw speedball?
Probably about a year or so, because I remember during that game we had with the teachers and that up there, where I met Rob Blitz, who was, I guess, a fairly recognizable name over here. He owned Tag Paintball in Wellington, and after the game and that, we're kind of talking to him, and he was like, oh yeah, on the weekends we're kind of building this other field, which is more like a speedball field, kind of open in this grassy area with like wooden pallets. And he's like, yeah, we're building a big castle and all this stuff. He's like, come along on the weekends, help us build it, give you some paint, and you can we can have a run round afterwards. I was like, that sounds like a good deal, eh? so after that, I had a bit of a shit fight with mum and dad, trying to like get out of rugby on Saturday mornings to go and help volunteer pretty much at this paintball field and build some barricades. And then, after a few hours, we'd get a couple hundred paintballs each, and we'd have a few games on it. And that, I was just hooked after that. Like, that was me. I stopped playing rugby, and I was at the paintball field every weekend.
Yeah, nice. I remember I had to make that decision. I played footy for years and years, and that was my dad asked me the question. Yeah, what do you got to pick one, and it didn't take me a couple of seconds to pick paintball.
Yeah, I know. It was at that age too, like 12 years old, where I seemed to be staying at the same size, and everyone else seemed to be getting bigger. And I think it was kind of moving around that age. It kind of went, weight divisions.
Oh yeah.
I still felt like I was the smallest guy in the field, sort of thing, and I wasn't really enjoying it too much. But it was an easy decision.
Well, that is one of the overall things about paintball is it doesn't, in footy and other games, that size matters and physicality and stuff like that. Whereas in paintball, it doesn't matter how tall, short, big or small you are. It's really the gun and how you move that makes a difference.
It's fundamentals, eh? Like, being able to snap shoot and all that jazz and just know the game.
Yeah, I've seen the big guys be able to pull off some pretty, guys that you just don't think should be able to move the way they do, and they can, and they do it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a sport of you see all shapes and sizes of people playing and succeeding.
Yeah, even like just in the Super Sevens, like looking at the Simpson twins and Ben when he plays the snake, like someone that big shouldn't be able to get that
Massive,
small.
massive dudes, eh? Like people were like, I remember when I started playing, every other team was looking for a small kid to like play that snake side, whereas I started getting taller, and the same with my brother. He was small at start, but now he's taller than me, and everyone was like, "Yeah, you're gonna be the snake player, snake player." But I mean, at 6 foot, you can still play the snake,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and now they keep introducing these big bunkers down the middle as well.
Yeah.
So just more place for people to hide. That's good.
Exactly.
Anyone can get behind them.
And then if you're tall enough, you can shoot over the top. So
Yeah, no, that is a plus. So yeah, so you're at the field with Rob was helping you guys out, and basically it sounded like you had a little bit of a sponsorship going on. Yeah, if you want
yeah,
to call
just
it that.
a voluntary sponsorship, you could say. Yeah. Well, pretty much that's where I met Jono Clark as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Early on, yeah, when I was like 13, 14, he was working up at Tag, and so when we went up for the weekends to help out, he would be up there running games, and I'd just help him run games as well. And he was kind of a bit more lenient on how much paint he'd give out and stuff, because it didn't own the business per se. So, but yeah, it turns out he just lived around the corner from my dad's place, so like literally like 5 houses down the road. So we ended up making real good friendship together. Like I'd pretty much live at his house just about, and we would just go up and run games and play paintball against these rentals. And man, yeah, it was a good time actually. Like,
yeah, no, that sounds.
Played a lot of paintball.
Yeah,
against rentals.
Well, yeah, any paintballs, you're gonna learn something. Whether you're beating up on rentals.
Yeah.
And someone like Jono Clark, having him as a neighbour, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think he was. Man, don't quote me in any of this, but I think he'd just come out of the army at some stage.
Yep.
And yeah, so he was, all into that bush ball stuff. And at the time, that's when I first got introduced to like speedball. Is at the time, I think there was like the big 4 events that they would run during the year, which ended up on public holiday weekends.
Yeah, okay.
I think there's one at the start, like Waitangi Day in February, and then Easter weekend they had one, and then Queen's Birthday, and then Labor Day. They had like 4 big tournaments per year. And Rob, and pretty sure Jono was part of it, but Rob had a team that he would put in called Full Bore to those events. And that's when I started like thinking like, I'd like to go along to one of these and see what it's all about, eh? This speedball competitive side of playing paintball.
Yeah. So what sort of style of speedball was it then? Was it still 7-man or?
Yeah. It was all 7-man. It was. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's the way to play. That's 7-man's the best, I reckon.
Yeah, it was a lot
slower.
Yeah, but it was a lot more like your body on the field was worth something, a lot more, because obviously at the end of each game, the more bodies you had alive, the more points you had, etc. So it paid to stay alive. I guess instead of trading out with someone, you'd rather take them out and keep your body.
Yeah, and it was all single point back then as well.
Yeah.
So that it really does matter, because like now you can sometimes you want to lose. They have that saying like win quick or lose quick, and
yeah,
just reset and get into the next point. But yeah, they were A lot of like I always think that that 7-man days just really taught communication. I remember watching a lot of the old videos and just the guys on the field trying to formulate plays and trying to get everyone together and stuff. It was it was cool. I definitely there's a lot of skills that I think the newer players don't get that the 7-man taught all of us.
Yeah, I think that was the when X-Ball first came along, that was, I think, from the diehard 7-man fans, that was the main argument, is like, oh, it's just an individual sport now. Like, you don't have to communicate. You can just run down the field and take out a few bodies and, change a game. Instead of, communicating with your team and having to try and keep everyone alive, and because you can always, when X-Ball came around, it was 40 minutes, just like you say, just win quick, lose quick.
Yeah.
Try something and then reset. If it doesn't work, try something else. But in 7-man, obviously, you don't have that room to move in 7-man. Like that game, everything hinges on what happens in that game. It could be win or lose, like in or out of the event.
Well, that's the other good thing, I think, that as it slowly moved to X-Ball, is that it doesn't matter that much about that 1 point. So if there was a bad call or someone did something dirty, like it sort of gets lost in the whole match. Whereas if it's that 1 point and there's still well, in Mike's episode, he's still talking about games that he played in the early 90s where someone did a cheat or something like that. Like those things last with you forever.
Yeah, it's the same thing with bad ref calls, which is always going to happen, and it just doesn't mean as much, I guess, at the end of the day, because you have an opportunity to come back from it.
Yeah, so was X-Ball sort of taken on pretty well in New Zealand, or was there still that divide that you saw?
It's still that divide. I think we moved from the big change went a bit slower. So we went from 7-man and still 7-man kind of format, but it reduced it to 5-man, so 5-man teams, but still like that 7-man sort of format, where it's a single game, not points. So bodies are worth points and all that jazz.
Yep.
Instead of, a race 2 format.
Yeah.
It took a little bit for people to, whoever was organizing the events, because a lot of the time it was obviously the older people in the sport that were organizing events, and old people, stuck in their ways, sort of thing. So it took a little bit of time for it to come around to the race 2 events.
Yeah, well, you did see that. I was just sort of I've sort of worked it out now after doing a few episodes of the show. Yeah, it was that really slow change from the guys that were playing those hour-long matches in the woods, where you weren't allowed to move past halfway until half an hour or whatever it was, those crazy old school rules. Then to 10-man would have been fast considered to them, and then 7-man would have 10-man a speedball, and then 7-man speedball would have been even faster to them. But to us, it seems like it's it's slow. So yeah, it's just been that the game slowly just evolved to be faster and faster.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, it's always the old school guys that there's, I guess, have been slow to change.
Yeah.
Well, I guess kids want to change it.
I guess people didn't really think the 7-man format was broken at all, so why change? It was still fun to play and all that. And I guess the main thing was you didn't shoot as much paint. And let's be honest, paint is the main cost of paintball. Once you got your gun and your gear, you're good, but you're always paying for paint. And if you're playing the Super Sevens is now sort of thing, one game you play up to 7 or 8 points, and you're shooting 15 balls a second, you can chew through a bit of paint. But I guess back in the day, if you're playing 7-man and you're only playing maybe like, what was a tournament of like 10 people, playing like 9 games or whatever, 8 games, and there's a fixed amount of paint that you're really going to be shooting. You can kind of tell how much paint you need.
Yeah, and it's like the breakouts are the times you shoot the most amount of paint. So if you're breaking out, 8 times or 6 or 7 times a match and playing 7 or 8 matches, like that's where the majority of that's going to go. But
yeah,
your gun could only shoot 8 pods at max, so that's like all your back players are going to carry in a point. So yeah. I never really thought about it like that.
The other big evolution, is like the efficiency of the guns and things. Like 7-man, be carrying on like some dude's massive, those like 91 cubic inch tank, like 14 pods and stuff. I'm like, far out.
Yeah. I guess especially being colder in New Zealand, like I used to notice it here in winter, like you'd shoot 7 or 8 pods in a game, and your front regs, like you just can't touch it because it's so cold.
Yeah. Especially back when you used to run like CO2.
Oh yeah.
if you're catching me on that one, Scotty.
Yeah, well, yeah. You guys used to like. I remember guys saying that the back corner player or the back middle player could basically just hide behind the smoke that he creates from the CO2 in winter. Yeah. It's good times. But I never really thought about that that paint thing. That's a good point you bring up. It's I just never really thought about it like that. It's a good perspective.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess this side of the world paint's probably a little bit more expensive. That extra hop, skip, and a jump on the old fucking cargo ship, shipping it over. That's always been a big thing with Paintball. Paint. You gotta have the paint if you want to play, and the paint costs money. Paint costs money to get it here. Costs money to store it. People want to make money off it. So, yeah, that was where like from the age of 13, all my money went towards paint. Just paint. Like the gear that I had, we used to get those APG magazines, IPG, whatever it was, like looking through them, like, yeah, I'd love to have that gun, that gear. But at the end of the day, all my money was going on paint. Like, you can't play the game without it. So, yeah, that was the priority.
Well, what did a box of paint cost back then?
Man, I wasn't even thinking about buying it in boxes back then.
Okay.
I was like buying it by the couple of hundred rounds, maybe a 500 bag. But I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't even remember what it cost because a lot of the time it was just borrowing money off Dad.
Yeah.
And I need money for paint. All right, and then just he'd rattle off a list of chores to do.
Yeah, and I guess being that young and having a field to work at, you could sort of, we'll work for paint.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. That was all we did. Like, I'd never got paid. Never got paid for doing any of that. It was all.
It probably was illegal too.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. But it was all for it was all to be able to play. So just paint and using the guns and the field and that. And then it all really started to pick up when Rob bought one of the new, when Sup Air first came around.
Oh, yeah?
He bought like it must have been one of the first in the country, because I'm sure it was, because there's a big, he was pretty stoked about it.
Yeah.
A big PMI field, and he set up, I remember, right next to a main road, set up a field out in Upper Hutt, like fully netted and everything right next to the road, and set up this airball field there, and that was then the big switch, from us playing in the bush to playing speedball was on that field.
Yeah, that's a good marketing idea, setting it right up next to a highway.
Well, that's why he was in it. Like the guy loved to play and he was real competitive, but he was in it to make a buck. So he was all about that marketing and all that jazz.
Yeah, I honestly haven't heard of Rob Blitz. So
really,
no, I haven't.
That's the thing, Like I almost guarantee a lot of the New Zealand listeners probably have. Well, a lot of the older guys probably have. Definitely have. So yeah.
Yeah, it's it sounds like he's basically brought speedball to New Zealand. That's cool.
Wow, I'm sure there's a few people that would disagree with that, but
yeah, okay, sure.
But yeah, definitely in my world for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Lower North Island sort of thing. Yeah. Otherwise, it was like tire fields. There was another. He was in competition with another paintball field just across the valley. And a lot of the old school guys that played tournament speedball were like from that field. But it was, well, this is from my perspective. This is the way I've seen it. And, they played on tire fields and all that. And, so they were all from there. And then when Rob got this airball field, a lot of the guys started coming over and playing, on this up airfield, the new way.
Yeah. No, there's always got to be two. There can never just be one.
Oh no,
one field.
That was the thing back then. It was so like almost political, like competing against, like obviously they're in competition, business wise, and as driving forces,
Crazy. And everyone's you get shade when you rock up at the field, having trained at the other one last weekend or something like that.
Yeah. Well, like when I was listening to Kaiser's episode, and he was going on about playing at SC Village or wherever it was, and you just rock up, and like he doesn't know how they make money because people just bring their own paint or whatever, and there's nobody asked you where you got your paint from or what field you've been playing at.
Yeah,
it's just none of that.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, whereas like over here, it seems like up and down the country, everyone's in competition with everyone. It's like field paint only. You get fucking, if you even asked, or back in the day, if you asked, like, if you could BYO paint, it was like, hell no. Playing on my field and like using somebody else's paint, how am I going to make any money?
Yeah. Well, that's I think that's what we have. I'm not quite sure how it works in New Zealand, but I know because it's so hard to buy and run a field, then that sort of helps control. Like if everyone that had property could just open up a paintball field, then I guess and there's so much competition. That's when I know fields have to bring in that BYO paint because it just is an extra incentive to come and play.
Yeah, exactly.
But how does it work in New Zealand? Could I just like set up a field in the woods and start running it?
I'm pretty sure you could, because we don't. It's not like, I think over there you've got to have like firearms licenses and all that jazz, don't you? Yeah. Over here, nah, because paintballs, guns fall under like air rifles. Like you don't need any sort of license to own one. You just have to be over the age of 18, I'm pretty sure, to own one, and then to use one, you just have to be supervised by someone. So that's how you get away with kids playing. It's less than lethal. So.
Yeah, well, actually, speaking of John O'Clark, like that's my only experience with rental paintball in New Zealand was working at his field and reffing a few games. And, just watching 12-year-olds with guns is the coolest thing. They just, you guys have it made over there.
Yeah, no, it was definitely good to get in at such an early age. The same as my brother, because I've been playing for a few years before he started, I think. but if I recall, I'm pretty sure he pretty much came straight into playing airball, like speedball, and he just skipped the whole bush things. So, yeah.
So he's younger than you, yeah? Your brother?
Yeah. Yep.
Ethan? Yeah. Yeah.
And don't forget Nathan as well.
Nathan, okay.
No,
Right.
no, that's
Yeah, okay.
that's a meme from your guys' commentary.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The last
okay.
event, eh?
Yeah. I think, yeah, I wasn't there the last event, so you can't, anything that went wrong. Yeah.
I just remember watching and like, Nathan Bailey. I think that's Josh Bailey's brother. Something. Yeah.
All right, now I know that's a meme. When I find out these memes, I'm all over it. You wait till next event. I've got some surprises for you.
I got some people that'll be pretty upset with me revealing that meme now.
Yeah. Well, the other one, like, it's a bit off topic, but I know, like, the explicit guys, and like, you used to play with the explicit. They always let me know of these memes. He's a really good player. Everyone's a good player. Really great group of guys. Yeah, there's lots of good memes on that we made on the webcast.
Heaps.
You know you've made it when you get a meme made about you.
Especially when you let Wybrew on the mic, eh? As a meme lord.
Just
the gold mine.
You got to let us know some of these memes. I want to.
I can't ruin all the fun, eh? That's half the fun is getting on the chat when there's an event on, eh? And just spamming the memes.
Yeah. No, it's a shame. Like, kids and family and stuff sort of hold me back from doing the episodes live. But I know that does take a little bit away from it, having that instant feedback sometimes. But sometimes it can sort of devolve into you guys laughing at the chat, and it all becomes a bit of an in-joke.
I can see how that could happen,
yeah. So this, Rob bought this airball field. Like, where did it sort of go from there? Was it something that built quickly? The airball scene, the speedball scene?
Yeah, definitely. As soon as that was there, it was just airball all the time, every weekend, and really started looking at it competitively, eh? Like, that's, I think, I didn't really notice myself to be that competitive of a person until, like, airball, or until I got introduced to paintball, and I was like, man, I really want to get into this, and I really want to be good at it, and airball really brought that sort of out, because it was, fast-paced games. It was, you were able to have a game in, 10 minutes, and then come back and be like, yo, why did we all get shot in the side, like, from this dude, like, running down the field or whatever? Like, how did that happen? And you really got to learn the game and how it's played a lot faster, like, because things are happening, games were done and dusted, and you could go back and think about, why you got shot, where you got shot from, what you should do next time. But especially Rob having that airball field brought over a lot of those old school guys that were playing tournament paintball, but on tires and that, and they came over, and that's where I met a few of my big idols, I guess, like from the Saints, who you might have heard of, heard of them. Yeah, they were like New Zealand's top team. They would enter an event, and it was pretty much guaranteed they'd win it, just about. And they were all a lot older dudes that have been playing since, since before you wore, full face goggles and stuff, like those crazy dudes. And
hardcore.
Yeah. I've always get afraid of, like, getting my teeth knocked out by a paintball or something, but not those cats. But probably had a big shit fight when they started bringing in, all those rigs that you had to have a full face thing. How am I supposed to communicate all this?
Yeah.
But yeah, like those guys came over and started playing at Rob's field, and I was like, wow, this is these guys know what's up, you know. These guys know how to play, like, and they were shooting a lot of paint, whereas, you know, I was only getting a couple of hundred paintballs for the day, and these guys, you know, obviously older, we had money to burn, shooting a lot higher rate and a lot higher volume, and obviously that changed the way the game sort of plays. If you're the dude sitting there, sort of almost like you've got a pump marker, but it's semi-auto, but you're shooting paint like, you know, like it's $1 every time you shoot or something. Like that volume of paint coming at you is yeah, a lot.
Oh, yeah, it's hard.
You know what it's like.
Intimidating.
Yeah.
Well, that was like, I remember SWAT, that used to just be ours in 7-man days. It was just put paint in the air and you'll win.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was teams that
accuracy
had,
through volume, you know.
Yeah, that's it. And as the guns got quicker, it got easier.
Yeah, and that was it. But yeah, Rob kind of, I guess he's seen us kids there kind of getting into that speedball and kind of, you know, being that new wave of players, and he wanted to get us into the team to go play one of these one of these big 4 national events. And at the time, I think they had one in Rotorua. I think it was Labour weekend, or I think it was Labour weekend in October, and they played it in the rugby stadium. I think it was a rugby stadium. Yeah, the rugby stadium up in Rotorua there. They had it there for a couple of years, and that was the big one of the year, I think, because it was, you know, at the stadium on a rugby field, and that was the goal for Rob and us kids at the time, was to, you know, go to that event and, you know, see what it's all about. And yeah, that was us.
How'd you go? How did you do?
Trash. I think I think we did pretty trash. I think I'm not even sure if I played the first event we went to. I think I went out and watched or something. I can't remember. It was, you know, so long ago. But I do remember we went up to one that I did play, and it was a classic. Like, it was how I remember my paintball career, really. Is like fun with the boys sort of thing. You know, like we Rob rented a camper van, and we drove up to Rotorua in the camper van and parked at the stadium, and, you know, lived out of the camper van for the weekend, and it was awesome, man, for a 13, 14-year-old, whatever, like, just hanging out with these older dudes and, you know, getting up to mischief and all that sort of stuff was good fun. I can't believe my mum let me do it, but yeah. But yeah, it was good fun, eh? And Rob was a bit of a crazy cat as well. Like, he got a cattle prod.
Okay.
And he hid this from us until we were like all on board, like in the camper van, ready to go. So let's go. And he whips this thing out, like, all right. Like, and then the games were on, you know. And I think it was like 5 or 6 hour drive of trying not to get zapped by this cattle prod, or trying to get some sleep without getting zapped by it. Yeah.
Well, like you say, you know, you say that's sort of what you remember your paintball career as. I think that's really, you know, where we are in Australia and New Zealand. Like, it's not something you can make a career out of. Or we've always all got to have a job and have something else to do. Some of us can work in paintball, I guess, but they're the memories you got to have. So I think that's really, the paintball's just you know, where it's more just hanging out with your friends and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That I think if they're the memories you have of paintball, then you've had a more successful career than other people.
Yeah, well, that's what I was leading up to this. I was trying to think. I was like, man, this could be a boring podcast because, like, in perspective, I haven't I've been to Australia and played, but that's about it. So that's as far as my paintball has taken me. Like I haven't been anywhere other than Australia and New Zealand to play, and I haven't won particularly a massive amount of events or anything, but I have had like a really good time and like playing. I based it after a while. I decided, I was gonna play with my friends, because for a bit there, I was like this young kid that got into it early, and I was, a lot of the older guys were like, man, we should get this kid on our team. And like, I played for the Saints for a stint, and after that, I decided, I wanted to play with my friends. I wanted to like make a team of just my friends, and really just play events and do that, like just travel around the country with my friends and play paintball. And that was what we did. Like I got together Trev and all my good mates. Like definitely paintball has shaped my life up until now. Like, all of my good friends are pretty much from paintball, met through or from paintball. And yeah.
Well, that's something that I 100% agree with you there. It's and you say you're this 14-year-old kid and you're hanging out with adults, and although like they do play pranks and stuff, like I feel that my career was similar. Like I was started hanging around paintball at 16, and my friends are out. They're like, oh, here's my friends. So they're all pushing 30, like in their mid 20s and stuff. And like some of them, or the majority of them, like set me up to have a different outlook on life. And you can see like it's not just drinking and partying that all my like 18-year-old friends were doing. It's like there's more to life, and
for sure.
They, like you say, the majority of my friends now are all paintballers. There's not, I don't know, pardon me, that many friends outside of it. And it's I think you made a good choice that taking that decision and playing with your friends. Did you find like better results when you were just sort of having fun with your mates?
Definitely, actually. Like we started, when did I start? I can't remember what year it was. Must have been 2006 maybe, that I kind of brought all the guys together, and my brother and guys I'd started playing paintball with, Trevor and Ewan and Mike Taylor and that, and we started our team Addicted, who you mentioned when we were talking earlier about those fucking gross brown Empire jerseys.
Well, the only reason I brought them up is because the first the first team I played on were called Mongrel Mob, and that's what we wore the exact same jerseys, and the only reason we got them is because they were heavily discounted.
I think
they wanted to get rid of them that bad.
I think that's why we got them,
Yeah,
the cheapest we could find. But
maybe I'll have to, for the start of the episode, I'll use a photo of that jersey so people know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, we rocked those jerseys though, like that was it, because obviously we were all kids. I don't think barely any of us had jobs, and so those were it. Once we got them, that was it. Those were the jerseys. Nobody wanted to. Well, we got pants as well, and funnily enough, we ordered pants, and they were all like 3 sizes too big. But we just went with it, and that was it. That was the kit for the next, it would have been probably almost 10 years. We rocked those jerseys for a long time, and but we were I'd like to say the dynasty of our era, like we were that new age kids, and kind of coming up with the change in paintball, how paintball was moving more airball, speedball, faster paced game, different style. Like that was us, and we started winning games against like the Saints and teams like that, like Menace, who were full of those, those older dudes that have been around since auto mags and all that jazz.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just came with a new, fresh style, fresh image, fresh way to play. And we didn't win every event or anything, like would have been the dream, but we definitely rocked some boats.
Yeah,
Sure.
and it's that that's around the time when I did notice there was that it was like a big exodus around then of just all the old school guys. Obviously the sport had the results were changing enough to support the new young kids that were just quicker, and those old guys, that's when they all started just getting the shits and leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you couldn't just sit back in your bunker and shoot 14 pods anymore and expect to win the game.
Yeah, there was maybe a spot for like one or two guys on the team to do that, and then the rest of it was just young kids get out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Go run into each other. Yeah. No, it's because that's around the same time I got into it, was that, and that's sort of why I got propelled so quickly onto certain teams, is because there was just everyone was just leaving and quitting, and there were spots to be had.
Spots were opening up. Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't matter if you were good. It's like, I guess it's like you say, that they just looked at you and were like, you're young and you're fast. Like, you've got the spot.
Well,
we'll worry about the rest of it later.
A big turning point, I think, was about 03 or something, when we had this guy Ian Miller, Beaker, also known as, from IPG magazine. He used to write articles for International Paintball Games, I think it was called.
Yeah, okay.
And he was, I don't know why he was in New Zealand. I think he was just traveling for himself. But he was also writing articles for them on guns and stuff, and they'd send him a new Spider or the new autococker or whatever, and he would write a review about it and it'd be in the magazine. But he came over and he was staying. He did that classic, hook up with the local community and find somewhere to stay, and he ended up staying with Anthony Bold.
Oh yeah.
For a while he was over here. And at the time there was a couple of events in the works, like a couple of one-off events that were going to happen, and these guys wanted to put a team in, and I can't remember how it came about, but me and Jono got on board with Anthony and Ian, and got a few other dudes together, and started this team. I think it was called Breakout, and we were going to enter this event or a couple of events, and so they were in Rotorua at the time. Anthony lived in Rotorua, and so Ian was staying there. And I think they came down. Oh man, I can't remember why, but they came down to Wellington, and we ended up training a lot. And Ian being from the UK, they had, they were a bit more advanced on style of play, how to hold your gun and all that jazz. So he really showed us, gave us that stepping stone of like out of, because over here it was still like drop forwards and, like double knee slides and all
fanning,
this.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Doing all that sort of weird looking stuff now there. And but he kind of like said, you guys are, this is how it's played now. You got to hold your gun. So no drop forward. It's more like a rifle, the bottle's tucked into your shoulder. You got good, a good strong stance, and when you're snap shooting, you're leaning out with your core, you're not just like tipping out all off balance and like, he really brought our level up just by telling us that sort of stuff, and advancing the way we played the game massively, which we wouldn't have got, because we're so disconnected from the rest, from the US, and that it takes a little bit of time for that sort of stuff to filter on down this way. But him being here and able to baby step us through what we should be doing. Really brought us leaps and bounds in the style of play.
Oh,
and the
and
way we play the
especially
game.
before the age of YouTube, where you could just Google
Yeah.
like, how
so-
do I hold a paintball gun?
Yeah, exactly. Social media was not a thing. Like I used to Martin Daniford. He was like a library of like all the DVDs in that, like Paintball to Extreme
yeah.
and all those Jawbreaker DVDs in that. Like he had the money and whatever, like, and the interest, and he would buy them, like, and obviously I was like, didn't have a job or anything, so go and pretty much almost rent these things off Martin Daniford. He had like a little notebook. He'd write down who's got what DVD, so he'd always get them back. But you'd go around there and borrow all these DVDs off him, and I'd just watch them. I'd just watch these DVDs and look at the Dynasty guys and be like, try and decrypt, like, why are these guys so successful? Like, what are they doing that we're not doing?
Yeah.
And first of all, it came down to like how they look. What gear are they using? Like how they hold their guns, how they're like shooting and moving, how they're looking where they're going when they move, things like that. They're not double knee sliding anywhere. They're getting low when they move bunkers. Like, and I just watch paintball DVDs, man, from when I got home to when I went to bed, pretty much. Like, it was just paintball. Like, how do I get better at this? Like, what are these guys doing?
Well, it was almost like, it felt like then almost like cheating with the Dynasty guys and watching them, like, because they were just playing the game so different. It's like that old saying, we were playing, everyone else was playing checkers and we were playing chess, like that kind of.
Yeah.
It was basically they just invented this different style, and yeah, almost like I remember some matches in the early days when I was playing even. It was like you just play teams that hadn't adapted, and they just couldn't match you.
Oh, they couldn't keep up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
the pace of the game was definitely changing to like faster, like back 7-man, everyone break out, get to their bunkers, and then the game would kind of take small turns, might lose one body, they might lose a body, trying to figure out where everyone is on the field. But then once you speed that up, like, you start making moves that people don't catch, people start falling from the other side of the field pretty quick, like getting shot in the side, like, oh, where'd that come from? Like, the game speeds up dramatically.
Yeah, those games where you can in 7-man as well, if you got the jump on teams, they were good fun.
yeah, for sure. That was one of those arguments as well, when X-Ball came around. Oh, excuse me. Coaching and that. It's ruining the game, you're just a robot for the coach. And that was one of the pulls, I guess, to stay with 7-man, is that, you could make moves like you'd sneak down the snake and no one would know you're at their end of the snake until you pop up and shoot them all in the back.
Yeah, I liked the coaching for the fact that it made it feel a bit more like a sport, like you had the coach and they were helping the snake guy out. But yeah, I like where the sports come to now, where it's like still that fast 5-man, but there's no coach. The coach did. Yeah. I love those sneaky moves.
Yeah, like you say, I did like having a coach for certain aspects, and then the same thing I didn't like. Yeah, I liked the coach when it worked for me, and I didn't like the coach when it didn't work for me. I hated it when you started a move and then you could hear their coach, he's coming.
Yeah. But even then, like, bad coaches, you could play with them. I remember I would get up like I was about to run, and then it's like they just start yelling, and then like the whole team would start shooting your way, and you just do nothing. All you did was get up on the ball with your feet. Like, it was good fun. Like, it was all mind games with the coaches, and then you could shoot the coach if you're on the Dorito side. Yeah, it was good fun.
I was about to mention that when I started playing with Clown Monkeys and and X Fighters over in the Super Sevens, and the coaches were just on the side of the field, like they had no netting or anything. Like, I think in the AXL they had a netted off coaching
definitely.
area. Yeah, but man, when they was playing Super Sevens and they had the coach, I just started shooting the coach, because I was playing Dorito side, and they'd have a dude in the snake, and you could see their coach like pretty much standing over top of their dude, like talking to him. They just start putting balls on like Sus or whoever it was, like just like, yeah, stop talking to that dude, eh?
But yeah, it did get a bit out of hand because like I remember those events with the AXL. We were printing up like A3 cards with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on it, so that you could hold it up and show the back center guy what the kill count was, and just crazy things. And counter coaching was fun.
Yeah,
I still to this day remember this story about Blackie. It was when he's playing on this other team. I was coaching the opposite team, and I just said, "Go Blackie," and he just got up and ran down and got shot. It was good fun. The old counter coaching days. Like it was like a dirty sort of play. Like you never felt good about like
man, it was
kind of
well within the rules, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So you mentioned X Fighters and Clown Monkeys. Like how did that jump happen? Like when did you start traveling over to Aussie?
Yeah, well, it was about 2012, 2011. I think I'd kind of stepped aside from paintball for a year or so, just concentrating on work and all that sort of thing. And then Matt Wong approached me and said that because he had been playing with the X Fighters over in Oz, I think, and I don't know, I think a few of the players had left or something, and he was like, you should come over and play. And I'd recently had a pay increase at work and whatnot, and I was like, I could afford to go to Oz a few times a year to play, so I was like, yeah, why not, and went over. It must have been 2012, I think. I went over for my first season with the X Fighters when Sus was still coaching, and or was it Sus or Luke?
Ed Henry, is that?
Yeah, that's the one. Yep. And Ty Barlow and that.
Oh yeah. Nice.
And they were all there. And yeah, that was my first introduction to Super Sevens, actually, because I've been over a couple of times, like about 5 years before, to play AXL with Wellington Hybrid. But then I was like, I think I just turned 18 or something about that time. But when I went to play with the X Fighters, I was obviously a bit older, in my early 20s, and could pay my own way. And so that was good fun, eh? That was definitely, I thought when I went over there, this is it, they got the format right. They got, 15 balls a second were awesome. I think over in New Zealand at the time, we still didn't have ramp or anything. We're still, because you're not allowed fully automatic. You weren't allowed fully automatic air rifles, or there was some rule. You weren't allowed fully automatic guns at the time. So we were still on that semi-auto buzz, which was
I'm pretty sure we were as well. I think it was just one of those things. We just did it. Yeah,
right. Yeah, well, that 15 balls a second was, man, I was like, this is how the game should be played, eh?
Yeah, and it does take a bit out of it, like learning how to shoot a gun like fast, but it's one less thing to think about as well.
Yeah, it makes the game a lot more exciting, I guess, for both parties, the spectator and the player, in the fact that you're the one shooting 15 and you're also getting 15 shot at you. Like, you got to make those moves pretty crisp, or else, you're going to catch a ball no doubt. So yeah, but that initial season with X Fighters was terrible. It went horrible. I think we lost a bunch of games, and it really it was pretty humbling because playing over here in New Zealand, the skill level jump. Like I think for a while there, the skill level in New Zealand might have been better than Australia because Australians would come over and would, be like that'd still be a little bit behind in the way the game's played. But then about the time I went over, it was day and night almost. Australian, the way the people playing the Super Sevens was leagues above people in the players in New Zealand playing the game. And because I think we were still just getting to grips with like even the race format, like doing race to 3 or something.
And there's a lot of pushback early in the days, like you said. A lot of
and still
hard to get that happen.
I think the player base in New Zealand was probably a bit older as well. Still, bunch of older cats still hanging on, playing, trying to keep teams alive, and even so, bringing in new players, but still passing on that sort of old style of play to them. Getting them to still double knee slide in, all that. You're just almost giving them bad information. But
I remember there was guys almost like they would get new guys in and say, "See this? You don't want to play that. Oh, that's crap. Like, don't."
Shooting left-handed. What are you doing? Shooting left-handed. It's easier to just like switch your gun over to your other shoulder and still shoot it right-handed, but out the other side. Which works for some people, but for the vast majority, I think it's better to be able to shoot left and right, and just things like that. But yeah, that we did that first season with X Fighters in Oz, and then Matt Wong kind of jacked up that we would start like a X Fighters team in New Zealand, which we called X Fighters Fracture or something.
Yeah, okay.
And so that was a way to keep us New Zealand players kind of on that same sort of X Fighters brand, and try and get some other people to come over and play for the X Fighters team in the Super 7. And that was really big. It was really big for me because it's when I met Billy Jackson, Peter Jackson's son.
Yeah.
He was hanging out at Rob's Field playing, and I kind of met him, and we got along real well, and ended up getting him to come play and he was like super onto it, dude, real athletic, and really loved playing, and no shortage of time or money.
So of course.
He was perfect. He was perfect, and he was a real good dude, and obviously real switched on as well. Like, loved the game, and like kind of seen myself in him, sort of thing. Seen my younger self, like super hungry, and we kind of got this X Fighters Fracture team together. Me, Matt Wong, Billy, Evan Lewis, and we got a few other people on. Paul Adams or Stat from Auckland, and who else was there? Anthony Bold came on, and we from then on we dominated that team. We dominated New Zealand events. We played every event we could in New Zealand, and I think we won everything we played. It was nice. It was amazing, eh? And then we were like, because the whole idea was to play these New Zealand events in order to keep us fresh and whatever for when the Super 7 events came around. But then, we'd do so well over in New Zealand, but then it was just me, Matt, Billy, and Ev that would go over to Oz, and then we'd shack up with whoever the Australian players were at the time. I think we had Benny Dawson for a while, and Ty Barlow, and play over in the Super 7s, but it just wasn't transferable, like the skill level was that much of a leap that we're winning events in New Zealand, but then when we came to Oz, it was was a grind. It was a lot harder. And,
Yeah, I guess it is that. Like you say, in the early days when I was playing, yeah, New Zealand was on it. Like Menace for years were the team to beat.
Yeah.
And I always just took. It's something I've always noticed about New Zealand paintball, and like yeah, when you guys were coming over as the Clown Monkeys, and when they started, just like I always feel like Aussies overanalyze the game. Sometimes we just think too much, or we try too hard, or there's just something where you guys just seem to have this really good carefree attitude, but it translates really well on the field. And like you guys have simple philosophies, and just like we just got to shoot our guns and shoot the other guys, like real simple. I always feel like you guys, New Zealanders just have a better way of approaching the game, and I think that always seems to pay off for you guys. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's something like that. Like the guys always just seem to be having heaps more fun than everyone else, and doing well.
Yeah.
I
think
sorry.
A lot of that's probably the New Zealand sort of mindset, just laid back.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just a game, but you got to be super competitive while you're playing. But yeah. So yeah, after that season with X Fighters, I think we did 2 seasons in Oz, and then the guys kind of the main backers for that X Fighters team kind of backed away, and kind of fell apart at the end of 2013, I think. And that's when, because I'd been over there, obviously, to the Super Sevens, and I've been talking to Bill and the Clown Monkeys, who were the only other New Zealanders over there, I think, at the time. And they were playing semi-pro, and I kind of caught up with them after the events at the Tormo or whatever, having some drinks, and talking to Phil, like, because he was a builder, owned his own building company at the time, and I was a builder, and I think I was complaining to him about the amount of money I was getting paid or something, and as a qualified builder in Wellington, and he was like, oh man, like, you should move to Christchurch, like, because there's heaps of work there, and I'll start you on, like $10 more than you're on, pretty much, and then after 3 months we'll bump you up some more, and and then we'll get you to play on the team as well on Clown Monkeys. And I was like, "What? Sounds like a dream, It's a deal I can get behind." And so after that year with the X Fighters, I decided to make the move down to Christchurch from Wellington, start working for Phil, and also start playing with the Clowns. And that was good fun. Yeah, that was the year they bumped up to pro as well.
Yep.
Obviously, I think I spoke to him because I was like, I don't really want to play semi-pro.
Yeah.
Like it's beneath me, so they bumped up to pro, and I think I started playing with them with their first year pro, and it was good fun. And I met a lot of the guys in the team. Like a couple of them I gelled with really well. Luke Folds, like one of my best mates now, and it was just good times, that team.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I had the same offer from Phil.
Oh yeah.
But I did take it because I'm a chippy as well, and he's like, come move to Christchurch, like. Yeah, I'll give you more money. I'll give you a house, like all this kind of stuff. Like, come stay here, play on the team. Oh, it was like, it was tempting.
Yeah.
It was, I'm jealous.
Oh yeah, it was an easy decision for me. Like the money first off was good, and then I'd just gone through like a rocky breakup with my ex-girlfriend or something, so I wanted to get out of Wellington, and so that was easy. So it was just all new starts,
Yeah, so, and it's all for paintball. You can thank paintball.
Yeah, exactly. Like paintball didn't get me far, but it got me some. It pointed me in the right direction.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good decision. All those years ago that you made to play with friends and play for fun.
Oh, for sure. Like I say, like paintball has been a massive driving force in my life. Like like I said, from when I was 13, and I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. To now, like, and the birth of my daughter, like I was playing an event the weekend she was born. Like, down here, there's a charity event on, and the missus was I think she was 3 weeks overdue or something, and we're playing an event on the Saturday, and then that night after the event, Saturday, oh, not after the event, but after the Saturday, that night the missus went into labour, so it was me, and then the boys had to carry the team on Sunday. Thankfully, they won.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, like paintball's just been my life, the last 20 years. And I met like even Anthony Bold. He's been a big part in New Zealand because he's one of those dudes that's just super keen to get new people into the sport and all that jazz. And I met him in that breakout team when Ian Miller was over from the UK, and that's when I first met Anthony. And I invited them down before an event down in Wellington to come stay at my mum's house. I was like, oh yeah, all the boys can stay at my mum's house. And my stepdad, my late stepdad, had passed away a couple of years ago or something. So my mum was single at the time, and that's when Anthony met my mum, and so he became my stepdad all of a sudden. And yeah, so, but it was a really good thing for me because he was a really good father figure, and and he was really, he was into paintball like as much as I was, and so that was good. And then I also did my building apprenticeship with him, so my career, like my building career, was with him, and I played a lot of paintball with him. And so, after events, we'd go to work on the Monday, and we could just shit yarn about, what happened, what went right, what went wrong, and all this. It was perfect. It was good.
That's it. Having a boss that's understanding about paintball.
And it was the same thing when I went to work with Phil at the Clowns. There was no trouble like, oh, I need Thursday, Friday off, and Monday because I'm going to Sydney to play, because he was going to Sydney to play as well. So
that's cool.
It was easy.
While we're on the subject of people like Anthony that were a help to you, like, is there anyone else that you'd want to give a shout out to while you're here, or any? Normally I ask for sponsors, but I know you're not in the sport too much anymore.
Nah, not sponsored at all. So pretty much paid my way the whole time. But I'd say like people like there's a bunch of people really, bunch of you'd say people I looked up to, like Kane Anderson from Saints. He's a real big influence on the style of play from when I first started playing airball out at Robsfield, and he came over, and he already had that American sort of style down. And people like Matt Wong, who'd been around for seems like 20 years longer than the oldest person but but still looks like he's 18. But he had a massive influence as getting me onto X Fighters, and even teams like Wellington Hybrid when we played the AXL. He's a real believer in sort of the skill I had, I guess. And Paul Adams, or Stat, he was one of the young guys on Saints at the time. He's a massive person that I looked up to as well, just the way he played. And
no, that's cool. Those names rings a bell. Like, I know Matt Wong, of course, but the other guys, I'm sure I've met them. That's one of those things. I'll Google them after this, and I'll realize that.
Get on Facebook, mate, and you'll be like, oh, he looks familiar.
No, it's cool. Well, as well, sticking with that, is there someone that you'd recommend for the show? Someone from, New Zealand that you think people might like to hear their story?
I'm not probably Matt Wong, if you get hold of him.
Yeah, I was always a massive fan of Matt.
Yeah, I think he's been everywhere and done everything you could, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I'll definitely get him on. He's a good suggestion. I was a massive fanboy of his, and he's always like, the times he's put it on me, yeah, in games and matches, and yeah, he's just one of those quiet achievers, I guess. They're not out there telling everyone what they've done, but they've done it all.
Yeah, and yeah, he's been around the block a few times, you know. He's seen it all.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we're sort of starting to run low on time, so we might have to wrap it up here. But thanks so much for sitting down and jumping on the show with me.
No, it's been a pleasure, man. I hope it hasn't been too wishy-washy back and forth. Nothing was chronological, it seems. But
yeah, it's I think it's my nature, like a bit of ADD, that kind of just sort of thing will pop in my mind. I'll ask a question, but it's
just good to sit down and yarn about paintball, I guess.
Yeah, and like yourself, all these guys, I spent all this time, all these weekends, and all this time with you guys, but never really. The event's such a blur. You don't really have a chance to sit down with people, so it's good to know. I'm just using this as a time to catch up with friends and people that I knew through the sport, and actually have a chat with them. Just an excuse to sit down with for an hour and talk.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah,
it's a good platform to do it with.
And it brings the memories when some of those things you rattle off. You're like, that's right, I was at that event, or I did that. I totally forgot.
When you asked me to come on, I was like, man, I better brush up on some of the things over there, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it's all such a, it's been so long. Once you think about it, and you've played so many games of paintball, so many events, met so many different people. Yeah, some of it sticks with you, some of it doesn't. And I've probably missed out a bunch of stuff that was real impactful on me, but it's just, you'd be here for hours just reminiscing about all that.
Well, it's hard to fit everything in an hour, but yeah, I'm hopefully soon we're going to change the format slightly. Like, I'm going to start focusing on things. So like, we might talk about an event and get some people on to chat about one particular moment in time and start doing that kind of a stuff. So if something comes up, I'll get you back on. We can dive down the rabbit hole again.
Yeah, I'll have to get travel back into Facebook and refresh my memory on some things,
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing about these days. It's all there. So that's
it.
Yeah. I look back through my Facebook. Someone asked me for a photo a few weeks ago, and I went back through and I was like, I totally forgot about all of this stuff, but it's all there.
Oh, some of it at the time you're like, man, this will stay with me forever, and then a few weekends later, you're at another event and you've almost forgotten about the last one. Like, yeah. Too many good times.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's a good after parties too.
Yeah.
All right, Josh. Well, thanks. Thanks so much for dropping in. And what's the current paintball? Is it sort of just a stop on everything at the moment for you?
For me, yeah. At the moment, I oh man, it's always there. Like, I could be interested in getting back into playing some events, but especially seeing as my brother's now playing Super Sevens with Rebels. Like, man, I'd love to get on board and play around with him.
With Nathan.
Yeah, with old Nathan. Damn it, I've ruined that meme, mate. People are going to be pissed. But it's definitely the pull's still there. You could see me out in the field at some stage.
Nice. Yeah, it'd be good to see. Well, hopefully, as things get lifted and we get back into paintball, maybe we'll see you out here one day. If you do, drop us a line and we'll catch up.
Oh, for sure, no doubt.
Awesome. We'll leave it there. Thanks, Josh, and have a good rest of the day and look after yourself.
Yeah, you too, Scott, man. Thanks a bunch. It's been good.
Cheers. that's a wrap on another episode of Down Under Paintball. Thank you once again for Josh Bailey for sitting down, taking the time and having a chat. Something I really enjoyed about that episode was Josh's outlook on paintball, how he chose early just to play with friends instead of playing for the big name teams. I think that's for any new paintballers out there. You just need to find your why and why you're out here doing it. If you are out here playing paintball to have fame and glory, then by all means push, get on those big teams and try and win as many tournaments as you can. But for everybody else, just make sure you're out there having fun. Make sure you're with a good group of guys and girls out there on the field, just enjoying the sport that we all love. It's very easy to get wrapped up in the competition of the sport and be chasing victory and having your emotions ride on that victory. So whether you're having fun in the sport or not really comes down to winning. It doesn't always have to be like that. I've seen example after example of teams that are all just best buds out there and they get results because their main aim is to have fun. And when you're having fun, that's when the sport's easy and that's when the results happen and the wins come. I think the most important thing is just that everyone on the team has the same mindset and everyone's on the same mission. So once again, if you enjoyed the episode or didn't, let me know. You can drop me a line on Facebook, just search out the podcast there, or you can hit me up via email at dupaintball@outlook.com. So that's it for this episode. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.